Welcome back, everyone. Today, we've got a fantastic explainer lineup for you. We're going to unpack a story you probably remember from childhood, but, we're looking at it through a much more analytical lens. We're talking about the classic folktale, The Honest Woodcutter. But hey, we aren't just recounting a simple fairy tale here. We're breaking down the actual mechanics of integrity, temptation, and the real-world consequences of our choices. Okay, let's dive into this and see how this ancient narrative constructs a literal laboratory for human behavior. Honestly, way before modern psychology was even a thing. We're dropping right into the middle of a totally devastating crisis. Our source material sets the stage with this exact desperate cry. Just imagine the emotional weight of this moment. We've got a guy standing by a deep river, helplessly watching his single source of livelihood sink right to the bottom. I mean, the stakes here literally could not be higher. This isn't just about misplacing a tool, it's about the sudden, terrifying reality of not being able to feed his family. It's a moment of absolute vulnerability. And as we know, it's exactly in these moments of vulnerability that true character is forged and revealed. So to really get why this crisis matters so much, we first need to understand our protagonist. Section 1, meet Ali the Woodcutter and his foundation of integrity.
Now, what's really interesting here is exactly how Ali's defining trait is established. The text tells us Ali lives a pretty hard scrabble life near a dense forest. He relies entirely on the daily grind of chopping and selling wood at the village market, literally just to scrape by. He's hardworking, he's kind, but notice that final point. Above all, he is honest. This is absolutely crucial. You see, his honesty isn't some luxury born out of wealth. It's a core principle he maintains despite his grinding poverty. Here's a man who practically cannot afford to lose a single day's work, yet his integrity? Unwavering.
And that genuine, heartbreaking despair? It actually triggers something completely unexpected. Let's look at Section 2, the Golden Test, a magical intervention. The water starts to sparkle, and out of nowhere, a magical fairy appears, asking why he's crying. When she hears his plight, she dips into the river and initiates this fascinating psychological stress test. It's essentially a rule of 3 escalation of temptation. First step, she emerges with a solid golden axe. The ultimate temptation, right? But Ali rejects it. Next, she brings up a silver axe. Still incredibly valuable, still highly tempting. But again, Ali just shakes his head. It's only on that third try, when she brings up his battered old iron axe, that things finally change. I actually want to pause right here for a second and ask you to really think about this. Break this down in your own mind. If you were in Ali's exact position, facing utter financial ruin, totally unable to feed your family, and a magical being suddenly hands you a literal block of gold, would you tell the truth? Honestly, would you have the incredible discipline to push away the gold and the silver just to claim a humble, worn-out piece of iron? It's a surprisingly profound ethical dilemma, kind of masquerading as a simple children's story. But for Ali, well, there's no dilemma at all. The source text describes his face just absolutely lighting up the moment he sees his old iron tool. "Yes, that's my axe! Thank you so much!" he shouts. You see, his joy isn't tied to bagging some sudden unearned wealth. It comes entirely from having his honest means of survival restored to him. His true character shines through so clearly here. He doesn't even hesitate, doesn't even try to rationalize taking the gold for a single second. And here is where we see the universe's response to absolute integrity. The fairy is profoundly pleased by his unshakable honesty. She explicitly tells him that because he told the truth, when he had literally every opportunity and justification to become rich, she's rewarding him. She gives him all 3 axes. Just like that, the whole shebang. Ali's fortunes and his family's entire future are completely transformed. And not by some aggressive investment portfolio, but purely by the sheer strength of his moral compass. Of course, a sudden change in fortune never goes unnoticed. Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 3, the greedy neighbor and a manufactured crisis. The village rumor mill gets to work, and the story reaches a neighbor who decides, hey, he wants a piece of the action. And this brilliantly illustrates the core contrast at the heart of our explainer today. On one side, we have Ali, dealing with an accidental loss and shedding genuine tears. On the other side, we see the neighbor's methodology. It's an entirely deliberate toss of his own axe into the river, followed by some truly terrible Oscar bait fake crying, all while just waiting to claim whatever valuable item pops up. It's a complete inversion of Ali's authentic hardship. It's entirely replaced by calculated, manipulative deceit. So the fairy appears, asks why he's crying, dives in, and emerges with the golden axe. And the dramatic irony here is just palpable. I mean, before she can even finish asking if it belongs to him, the greedy neighbor loudly shouts, "Yes, that's my axe." He instantly, without a second thought, abandons any pretense of truth the very millisecond the gold is presented. He utterly, spectacularly fails the test. But the system in this story is self-correcting. The fairy immediately sees right through the manufactured crisis. She frowns, bluntly calls him a liar, and just vanishes with the golden axe. But wait, she doesn't just withhold the reward. There's a serious penalty for the manipulation. The neighbor loses the very real iron axe that he deliberately threw away in the first place. His dishonesty literally leaves him completely, utterly empty-handed. Which naturally leads us to Section 4. Honesty is the policy, our final takeaway. Let's distill the overarching moral philosophy that the villagers, and really, by extension, us as the audience, are meant to learn from these two perfectly mirrored events. So the crucial point is this. The text doesn't ever promise that honesty is some magic ticket to immediate wealth. It plainly states that honesty may not always make you instantly rich. What it does build, however, is a rock-solid foundation of trust and genuine respect. Conversely, dishonesty, while it definitely offers a tempting little shortcut, ultimately leaves you with empty hands. Integrity is what actually yields the true, lasting rewards. In fact, the source material wraps up with this incredibly powerful moral statement. Honesty may not always make you rich, but it earns trust, respect, and rewards that dishonesty can never bring. And honestly, this is exactly why this lesson remains so incredibly relevant today. It completely reframes our concept of reward. The real treasure isn't the golden axe itself, right? The real treasure is the trust and respect that a person of unshakable integrity naturally accumulates over a lifetime. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought as we wrap up today's explainer. In our modern world, a world that is absolutely packed with potential shortcuts, fake-out maneuvers, and manufactured crises, are you diligently guarding your iron axe, relying on your authentic, honest work? Or are you constantly grasping at the fairy's fool's gold, risking everything you actually have for something you didn't even earn? Really think about how you apply the mechanics of integrity in your own daily life. Thanks so much for diving into this with me. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.